to make regarding access to Town Hall during Oyster Bay's Cruise Nights, which is a very popular program we do here in town. While residents enjoy the weekly cruise nights hosted on Audrey Avenue by the Oyster Bay East Norwich Chamber of Commerce, the town will ensure residents visiting Town Hall during evening hours for the town board meetings or late nights when the town clerk's office has these later evening hours will have access to Town Hall. As the town clerk's office is open until 7:30 p.m. on June 13th, July 11th, and August 8th, the town's public safety department will ensure parking spaces are left available to any resident who may be visiting Town Hall. Access to Town Hall is open through the back entrance of the parking lot with entry on South Street, Route 106, for the June 20th Town Board meeting. The cruise night will be temporarily located to Fireman's Field, the parking lot by the Oyster Bay Railroad Station near Teddy Roosevelt Park. So we're looking forward to your participation, and that's important information to our residents. Very important information to every resident, to every taxpayer, and information that we are very proud of and quite important to announce. It's the outcome of a recent case in court. In July of 2016, Phoenix Variable Life Insurance Company sued the town of Oyster Bay in an effort to recover money that a prior concessionaire borrowed from that company. Phoenix argued that the town guaranteed repayment of the approximately $7.8 million loan. The town vigorously and most appropriately opposed Phoenix claims for multiple reasons. First, the town board never approved the supposed guarantee. Second, that supposed guarantee was not even properly signed. And third, that guarantee, even if it was properly signed, violates the New York State Constitution that municipalities may not lend their credit on behalf of private entities. In other words, the supposed guarantee was bogus and simply not legitimate. Last week, Federal Judge Sandra Feuerstein of the United States District Court dismissed the suit with prejudice, ruling that the Oyster Bay Town Board did not authorize or ratify the loan guarantees, and in her 43-page decision stated that the town of Oyster Bay was a victim in this situation. Understand that this decision is monumental. It is a win for the taxpayers, it is a win for the town's reputation, and it lays the initial groundwork for the town to be victorious in court in recovering the costs the town was forced to incur as it relates to this conspiracy against the town and its residents. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a watershed moment and very, very important in terms of the town's reputation, the town's ability to recover, and as I said, the judge stated in her decision that the town was the victim.
Who's responsible?
Thank you. Will the clerk please poll the board?
Supervisor Saladino?
Here.
Councilman Muscarella?
Yes.
Councilman McEnroe?
Present.
Councilwoman Alessia? Councilwoman Johnson?
Here.
Councilman Ambrono?
Present.
Councilman Hand?
Yep.
All is board.
Okay, would you call the first hearing, please?
Hearing local law, consider a local law to add chapter 242 of the Code of the Town of Oyster Bay entitled Wireless Telecommunication Facilities, and to revise section chapters 246-5 of the Code MD 516-17, number 22.
Mr. Matt Rosea.
Good morning, Supervisor, members of the Town Board. For the record, Matthew Rose, Office of the Town Attorney. Supervisor, at the last Town Board meeting, this board authorized the retention of a specialist in the field of telecommunications law. We've since met with that attorney. He's been reviewing the proposed ordinance and has suggested and is in fact making some modifications and revisions to the initial draft of the ordinance that we've noticed this public hearing for. And so as to allow the attorney to make all of the changes and edits that he feels are appropriate under the governing law, and most importantly, to allow the residents a full and fair opportunity to review the draft law. We request that the town board adjourn this hearing to the next town board meeting, June 20th, 2017 at 10 a.m.
For the purposes of public information, can you briefly state what our motivation is in adopting these new amendments?
Simply stated, Supervisor, it's to restore under the Federal Telecommunications Act the fullest extent of the town's zoning powers to regulate the placement and installation of any type of telecommunication facility, including these small cell repeaters that we've seen popping up throughout the town.
Council, I think the meeting on June 20th is at 7 p.m., so I'm gonna make a motion to.
You're correct. Thank you.
Maybe have a motion?
Supervisor, I'll make a motion to close the meeting and to reopen it on June 20th, 2017 at 7 p.m. The hearing, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Can we call the vote?
Yes.
Supervisor Saladino?
Aye.
Councilman Mastrilla?
Aye.
Councilman McEnon?
Aye.
Councilwoman Alessia?
I would just add, it's an aye for me, but I received several communications to my office requesting that this issue be heard at night, so I'm very appreciative that we're doing this. Aye.
Councilwoman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Brodo?
I vote aye, and the public will have an opportunity to review the draft before the hearing?
We'll post it on the town's website so that the public can review the draft.
And Councilman Head?
Aye.
Would you like me to call the second meeting?
Yes. Just in closing on that, we're looking forward to moving forward on this initiative. It's very important for us to push back. It's very important to be the voice of our residents when it comes to these cell repeaters and all of wireless communications. And we will continue to work with the community and represent the residents of this town.
That's what this effort is all about, Supervisor.
Thank you very much. Next
Supervisor,
hearing.
you've had a number of people fill out forms, so to speak about.
Would like to speak on this?
If you want to move that to public comment, so they have the opportunity to speak, or if you'd like.
You know what, why don't we hear them now and allow them to go on with their day?
He screwed up now because I'm signed to speak. Now they're gonna change their mind. So they will do it at public comment.
Can I get a decision from the town attorney?
See what I tell you?
We have closed this hearing for the time being, till the 20th. Can we still hear public comment on this?
There's no reason the board couldn't hear public comment, but I would caution that the hearing on the actual local law would be at the June 20th meeting. And so I would recommend that any comments that any resident wishes to be part of the record be heard at the June 20th meeting, but of course the board can entertain any comment.
Now, excuse me, Matt.
Yes.
Mr. Rosette, should we open the hearing up again to have the comments on file for this hearing?
To the extent anyone wishes to speak, it's within the board's purview to hear it, but without the benefit of having seen the draft of the ordinance, I'm not certain what the effect.
Mr. Rosé, could we incorporate any comments that were made today into the record of the hearing when we have the formal hearing?
Being that the board is adjourning the hearing, I think it would be more proper that the comments be heard for the purposes of the ordinance at the June 20th meeting.
But if they are going to speak about it, we should reopen
Look,
this
he's looking to see
hearing.
who wants to
so
speak.
you are
You're
ready.
getting correct.
They can certainly go on record, yes, but it will be without the benefit of the ordinance.
True, but we will get their thoughts in and their words, and it will be heard part of the record, but the hearing that will be continued on the 20th then.
That's absolutely true.
So the hearing has to be reopened?
Oh, yes, certainly, if it's a part of the record, it needs to be reopened, yes.
So we will be holding the hearing, as you heard, on the 20th. Those of you who would like to speak at that time may. Those of you who would like to speak today, you've made an effort to come here, and it's only reasonable to hear you. You can make that decision when I call your name.
Oh, excuse me, Supervisor, we should reopen the hearing before
Right.
you do that, sir.
Supervisor, I'll make a motion to reopen the hearing, public hearing.
Do a second?
I, second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Our hearing is reopened, and our first speakers are Marlene and Elliot Walt. Hi, how are you today?
Morning.
Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Okay, Marlene and Elliot Wald, 15 Pine Drive, Woodbury. Supervisor Saladino, councilwomen and councilmen. We've lived in Woodbury for 30 years. During this time, we have assumed the town officials have looked out for our family's well-being and best interests. However, we now have a mini cell tower repeater, I'm still not exactly sure what it is, on our front lawn. There was no warning this was coming, and no one explained what it was, why it's there, is it working, who owns it? We don't know anything. This is a potentially harmful device, and I have some readings to give you. Okay. And it doesn't belong in a residential neighborhood. We have families, all different ages, people getting pregnant. This technology is too new to have long-term conclusive studies done about it. And there may be safe limits set by the government, and I'm sure we're going to hear about that from the companies who are putting these things in our neighborhood. But if we just look back to 9/11 and remember the government said it was perfectly safe to go there, are we going to wait for people to get sick? It's too late for that. These have to go. And that's why we're here. And I think I speak for everyone in our community that we really appreciate that you support us. And I know it's going to be hard because they're there now, but they really have to go. I'm asking, please, get these off of our properties, out of our neighborhood.
Yeah, one way or another, your homes are not the right place for these things. They don't belong in your neighborhood.
We share your sentiment, we share your outrage, and we are working diligently. At a previous town board meeting, we hired a firm who was one of the experts at this to help in this process. We alerted the public through the media. I believe a member of the media is here. Multiple members are here now at press conferences, here in public meetings, over and over, on Facebook, on the internet. We've continued to be very adamant about our position to respect your feelings on this and to support your initiatives. So we are working on this. As we've stated in the past, we are mandated by federal law. We have contacted our federal representatives, our federal senators, asking them to change the law to give the towns and villages the right to decide where they go, and to initiate and pay for a new study that studies the modern technologies, not to go with a study that was concluded prior to '96. So all the issues you have brought forth are greatly appreciated. We concur, and we have been voicing that with a very loud voice.
Does anyone know if these are currently working?
Some of them are on.
How do we know?
Let's get that answer for you. Matt, could you give us an update on this that answers the questions of the residents?
Certainly. You're correct, Supervisor. Some of the sites are active, others have not been energized. We've instructed or requested them, certainly, Crown Castle, the vendor who's been installing these sites, to hold off on doing any other work until we've had a chance to fully review what's taking place, what we contemplate doing with respect to our ordinance that we'll be hearing on the June 20th meeting, and then to sit down and listen to us and ask and respect both our wishes and the wishes of the residents with respect to these sites and where they're being located. So the answer is some are energized, some are not, but at the moment we're not doing any other work as far as we're aware.
How do you find out which ones are, which ones aren't? If one is working,
We'll attempt to get the list of energized sites. I would also recommend or suggest that you can reach out to Crown Castle yourself They are going to be located on Long Island, and they will be responsive if you reach out to them. But we'll work on getting.
So the answer is, we'll provide you with information, and would you provide this family with the contact phone numbers and email address so they too can reach out to them? And we're continuing to work towards strengthening our position to get these moved and away from homes.
Excuse me, Supervisor, can we put Crown Castle's information on the website so residents can easily obtain it and contact them?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thank you for being here with us, and you will see continued progress on this issue. The next speaker on this issue is Robert Shallow.
My name is Robert Shallow, 14 Elm Street, Woodbury. I want to thank the supervisor and the council persons for your support. It's very important that these be removed from the residences where they were placed. As the previous speaker said, we were given no notice. All of a sudden, these ugly towers are in front of our homes. They are eyesores, and they certainly hurt the value of our properties. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
We concur with you, sir. Thank you for being with us today. The next speaker is Kevin Shan.
Thank you, Town. Kevin Shan, 12 Elm Street, Woodbury. These cell phone towers are considerably lighter in color than any other utility poles, and they're not concealed in the trees like any of the other utility poles. Aesthetically, they're obtrusive, and they will definitely negatively affect property values because no one wants to see a really light cell phone tower in the middle of the yard. Thank you.
Thank you. We concur. I am looking for anyone else who put in something on these towers. Looks like Mr. McKenna.
I put a slip in also, sir.
Okay, Mr. McKenna.
Good morning, Town Board. Kevin McKenna, 3 Edna Drive, Syosset, New York. I just want to add, in prior meetings, you had made statements that you had rescinded permits for various towers. I would ask that copies of the documentation that you sent rescinding this be also posted on the town's website. You do have a link for the wireless, although nothing has been updated for many, many weeks on there. I think it would be helpful to see the documents where you rescinded, and I was curious to know whether or not you could comment on what the response was from whoever you sent the letters to on the rescinded request. Did that change anything since you've done that? And also, I'd be curious to know any responses that you've got regarding letters that you say you've sent to the federal government, to the governor, whoever it is you've sent, whatever you can comment on, that would be appreciated.
Mr. Rosa, oh, I'm sorry, Town Attorney Joe.
Yes, Supervisor, for your instructions, I spoke with General Counsel at Crown Castle and told them that the permits were revoked. The following day, we retained outside counsel who's handling the matter on a going forward basis. There is nothing in writing. There was no response from Crown Castle.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers on this issue? Yes.
See,
Good morning, Supervisor, Town Board. I'm very disillusioned with this business with the antennas. I remember going back about 11 years ago. A couple of companies wanted to put up 11 antennas, and they needed town's approval. And a former attorney for the town, Giacomini, had said that if the town voted against them putting up these antennas, the federal government says they can put them up any place they wanted to, without the town's approval. So until the federal law changes, I don't know why I've gone through all these motions.
The answer to that is because we have engaged with a law firm who's an expert at this. They are ensuring that we write the legislation in a way that gives the town the best leverage
Okay.
to control.
Excuse me,
where
you
these
said they're
goes.
experts. If we don't get the approval, do we have to still pay them?
If we don't get what approval? It's not about an approval. We will pass the best legislation in place and then begin the process with the carriers.
That's a federal legislation.
No, we're in control of town legislation.
Okay.
And we will ask our federal senators to change the federal legislation.
Okay.
Hopefully, they will respond. Hopefully, they will be responsive to the public. Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand, even if they are not, or if they are unable to change the federal law, we are increasing our leverage, our ability to control this situation in every means possible. The town board made a commitment to the residents, and we will keep that.
But how do we control it when the federal law says
Mr.
they
Smart,
they what?
I'll make it easy, maybe we can make it quick. We're gonna fight something that's wrong that our residents feel is their health to the best of our ability. If
Okay.
it's wrong, if the Senate, if the United States government is wrong in this, we're gonna fight, and hopefully we can get this changed, but we're gonna fight until we're told we can't fight any longer. All right, that's why we're fighting, that's why we're spending the money, for the safety and health of our residents.
Well, according to the federal government, they still say
They're wrong,
they're okay.
and we're gonna fight them till they see that we're right.
Okay. I hope so.
Applaud the supervisor in his efforts.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you. Are there any other speakers on
put a
this
form in.
issue? Yes,
I put a form.
yes. Please step forward and state your name and address.
My name is Robert Riff. I live at 77 Sunset Road in Massapequa, New York. I've been trying to follow along with the past litigation history in regards to the cell phone tower issues. And I found a number of actions where the town was named as a defendant, but I wanted to ask Mr. Saladino, I noticed he's leaving. He had mentioned a couple of times that the town was the plaintiff in a number of actions. And I just want to make sure that I'm reviewing everything that's available. So if he gets a chance, I'd like him to identify what legal actions the town's instigated in any of these cell phone matters. I'd also like to bring to your attention, in 1999, there was a ruling against the town. It looks like the same exact predicament. It's cellular telephone company versus Town of Oyster Bay, which cellular telephone is AT&T. If you haven't read it, I really suggest you do, because the town did everything that they could do, like you're doing everything that you can do. And they had a hearing, and when you read the decision, it seems, in my opinion, I might be wrong, I mean, please read it and confer, but it seems that the town, like, the attention was more placed on the possible scientific data of health and not enough on aesthetics. And when you read the decision, it seems that if more people would have come up, the judge's decision reads that like, they didn't feel that the aesthetic argument was strong enough because not enough residents mentioned it. Most residents spoke about the possible medical side effects or whatever. I really suggest that you read it. Cellular Telephone Company versus Town of Oyster Bay, 1999. And I think it might help us to build a stronger case this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, would you step forward, please?
Good morning.
Good morning. Could you please state your name and address?
Dr. Jacob Charon, 107 Cypress Drive, Woodbury, New York, 11797. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified RF fields as possibly carcinogenic to all humans. Very few human studies have focused specifically on cellular phone towers and cancer risk. RF radiation emissions, according to the World Health Organization, are now categorized as a recognized possible carcinogen. Antennas should not be placed in residential neighborhoods. The FCC should study the health effects of antennas. The company, Crown Castle, who installed the poles and equipment in Woodbury, should remove all cell equipment. Current cell phone antennas and equipment should be moved to more appropriate commercial locations and away from our homes and children. Please move them immediately for possible future health issues for our children and ourselves. Signed, Dr. Jacob Chairman. I think I gave one.
Thank you.
Also, as I was reading, I noticed that the cell towers do not go ground level. They go horizontal and upwards. The thing is, I know I'm in a colonial. My windows are right in front of me, and I'm on the second floor doing my work. So it's going straight at me. The only thing protecting me is a glass window and my skin. So I question, you know, if you're ranch, maybe not, but if you're colonial or higher, those horizontal beams are coming straight at you.
So it sounds like you're 100% in support of the actions we are taking to push back
100%
against.
for my children, grandchildren, and, you know, I remember the Buster Brown shoes with the fluoroscope coming up. I was around then, and the kids would get on there, and, you know, you do the size of your shoe, and that fluoroscope was going right into the gonads, and that was done in the storefronts, okay? Fluoroscopes, this. I've seen so many things over the years of, oh, this is safe, and over the long run, it's not. It is just safer to be protected, and as far as I'm concerned, those towers should be shut off now, not later, and then put back on if, you know, the judges believe so. Okay.
Sir, your statements are in lockstep with what we on the town board have been saying all along. The town has already sued in the past on this issue. We will continue to go to court. We will take every step that we can legally take in terms of shutting these down, moving them out of residential areas. We have already we are already working with one of the best law firms to give us the best advantage in court and every other process, and you can rest assured that we are in lockstep with you, and it sounds like you're in full support of us and the steps we're taking to protect you, your family, and your community.
Thank you very much for representing the people.
Thank you. God bless you. There are no other speakers on this issue? Yes, sir. Okay. Did you speak on this already?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
Why don't we have someone who hasn't spoken on this first go first, okay?
Bob Fryer, 33 Chestnut Lane, Woodbury. Just a question. Has the board sat down with Crown Castle since this occurred, just to try and talk things out with them? And
Yes, and our town attorney will address that. Please take a seat.
Yes, once again, Supervisor, we hired the best in this field to represent us, and they are arranging a meeting with Crown Castle. Tentatively, I think that is scheduled for the latter part of this week. I don't have the exact date or time.
The answer is no.
We will be meeting with Crown Castle. In fact, that was their first order of business.
And since the question was, have we already meeting? I know for a fact there already have been communications with them.
That is correct. I had numerous communications before we retained outside counsel, and outside counsel, in the interests of speaking with one voice on behalf of the town of Oyster Bay, has taken over that role.
Thank you very much. Sir, yes, if you said yep, okay. All right, then, we're going to move on to our next hearing.
Another speaker.
Oh, there's another resident, okay. See your hand.
Hi, I'll be quick because I've been down this road before.
Sure.
You say you've spoken to Crown Castle, okay? Have you just simply...
Excuse me, would you just state your name and address for the record, please?
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Denise Tufano, 26 Elm Street, Woodbury. We understand you've had some communication with Crown Castle. Just out of good faith, have they just said, sure, let's take a look and we'll move them? I mean, I don't know how long this whole thing is going to drag out. They can't just move them temporarily?
We have asked for that our town attorney will address the question.
Yes, I'd like to state first that they were willing to discuss that as a general proposition. Once again, our outside counsel took over. They urged that we not take action separate from what they're doing in terms of negotiations, and they said the first order of business was to meet with Crown Castle. They have successfully negotiated with Crown Castle in other contexts on behalf of other municipalities.
I
and achieved
understand that.
results.
Okay.
So we're in essence looking for the best outcome to get this done properly the first time and to protect our rights in court so that we can best represent you and the other residents.
Okay, I just want to correct a couple of things. These are not receptors. These are mini cell towers, okay? Receptors are not so
I believe
terrible.
the words we used were repeaters.
Oh, I'm sorry, repeaters, they're not repeaters.
Okay.
Okay, they are small cells.
Okay.
And the other issue is, you keep saying to contact Crown Castle. However, when I spoke with Crown Castle, they said they just put the equipment up. It's Verizon who turns them on. I've tried calling Verizon and they just want to sell me service. I can't get any answers. And I'm just frustrated because I know that your hands are tied to some degree, but you did start out your permits, and if I can't get answers, I would expect you to be able to get answers. Are they on? And can we keep them from going on until this is litigated properly? You know, you put that cease and desist, but is it doing anything?
Okay, Matt, we're going to ask that we put the answers to this together so we can get Mrs. Tufano the answers to all her questions and then explain our answers so she understands what the repercussions are, what the legal strategies are in place, and what we're doing at every stage of the game, as well as what their responses are.
Are you aware that it's Verizon who turns them on and not Crown Castle? Crown Castle is just the contractor. They put the pole in, they put the equipment up, but it's
Yes.
Verizon who presses the button and sends the signals out.
Yes, we are
So to
aware.
call Crown Castle and say, is it on at 26 Elm Street, they're not gonna know. Do you know what I'm saying? And I can't get an answer from Verizon, so I guess I'm, again, putting it in your lap to get us these answers and to keep them off until, like I said, it's litigated appropriately.
By the way, Mr. Fano, I don't necessarily believe their answer to you was entirely forthcoming. It is true about Verizon turning it on, but Crown Castle knows full well when Verizon turned it on, and we will address, thank you for bringing it to our attention, we will make sure outside counsel.
We just like I've said before, people have said, we weren't notified, we didn't even know what they were. So we had to go and take all the steps first to find out what it was. Now that we know, we don't even know who to contact to even find out what's happening, you know.
So that's why I've asked Matt
we need to
Rosea
know.
to contact you directly to ensure that your questions are getting answered and that we're keeping the public apprised at every step of the way.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, sir. Dr. Burke. How are you today, sir? I enjoyed our conversation the other day. We had a lengthy phone conversation on this, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Supervisor, town board members, Dr. Berger, Ms. Allison. Just have a question. Why can't the residents have a forum, an open forum, or a Q&A with the outside counsel before they draft the ordinances?
Part of this is to provide the public a hearing, a template. You'll be able to see the ordinance first online. After you read it, please contact us.
So my question is, will your outside counsel be willing to edit their ordinances once we've included our input?
That's the purpose of the public hearing, Dr. Burke.
Okay, so then we'll be able to analyze the ordinance up on your website and then come with our recommendations, suggestions, or affirmations of those ordinances, correct?
Yes, in fact, that was the reason why the hearing was adjourned as of today, because we didn't have sufficient time. We want to do it quickly, but we want to do it correctly.
And does
the ordinance, when it's in draft form for comment, will be up on the website, and we would welcome your comments at that time.
And we're happy to have you and every one of our legal minds playing a role to make sure that this is done properly, not only on the short term, but on the long term.
And do you have any idea approximately when that'll go up on your website?
Well, not specifically, but they are aware that time is of the essence. And also, they're aware that this hearing was adjourned today, and they're aware that the next hearing is June 20th, so we expect it to be significantly in advance, but I can't give you a precise date, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no other speakers, then we will have a motion.
Supervisor, I make a motion that this public hearing be closed and reopened on June 20th, 2017 at 7 p.m.
Can I have a second?
I second this motion to be adjourned and reopened on June 20th at 7 p.m.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Just for a point of reference, you want to make sure that that was continued, not closed, continued to...
No, that was 5 minutes closed.
Was it? Okay. Second hearing, local law. To consider a local law to amend Chapter 64 of the Code of the Town of Oyster Bay to add a new section 64-11 to Chapter 64 entitled Purchasing in relation to prohibiting the town from entering into contracts with certain individuals or companies.
We're exceptionally proud to be holding this hearing and working on this resolution today. And to describe this to the public, we have Matt Rosé of the Town Attorney's Office.
Supervisor, it's very simple. If you're boycotting American Allies, we're not interested in doing business with you. Before the town will enter into any type of contract for the provision of construction services, other services, or information technology services, the prospective vendor will have to provide a certification that they're not engaged in a boycott, as that term is defined in the ordinance, of any of our American allied nations, including but without exception, the State of Israel, Ireland, and our NATO allies.
Thank you. This is something very important to me personally and to so many of our board members and to so many of the members of the community. I was involved in legislation of this type in Albany statewide, and it feels as though this is something that's very right to be doing in the town of Oyster Bay. Have you had input from the community?
Well, that's what the public hearing is for. I've not received any personal input.
Mr. Rosé, any company that is engaged in a boycott of the State of Israel should not be doing business with the Town of Oyster Bay. That's my input.
And that's what the law provides.
And for the record, I have met with a variety of community groups, including those at the Shuls, and including the one that Councilwoman Rebecca Alessia belongs to, and the good people at these communities let us know that this is something that they're very in favor of, very much in favor of, as it relates to all of these countries, including the State of Israel.
Very good. And that's all I have to report.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Mr. Rosé? Do we have public comment on this issue? Okay, have we received any correspondence?
We have affidavits of postings and publications. There is no public correspondence.
Do you have a resident that would like to speak on this? Please feel free to come up. Hi, would you state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Good morning, Paul Molinari, 332 West Nikolai Street, Batesville, New York. The only comment I have is I looked on the website to see this. I wanted to read the proposed changes, couldn't find it. And I think it's a standard recommendation that it should be, when you're holding any hearings, it'd be on your website. Since you're holding a hearing, you should either have the local law, or if somebody's proposing a redevelopment of a site, some information on it besides saying that we're having a hearing on it. Now, I would definitely not oppose this, but when I read this, I thought maybe the town's moving forward with amending the law so you would have procedures in place to ban contractors and vendors for other issues, like the federal debarment system. So, I support what you're doing, but I think, I couldn't find it on the website, and that's why I couldn't slip the comment on it.
Thank you for that information. This is important to point out to our personnel that we must absolutely make sure that not only is all of this information included on the website, but it is in a way that is easily found. So we will have to tighten that up, okay? Thank you. We have other speakers on this issue. Mr. Fryer.
I would just, again, Bob Fryer, 33 Chestnut Lane and Woodbury. I'd just like to ask that the specific wording of this include the BDS movement, you know.
That was the
I
motivation.
believe that's the intention.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
the desired intention.
Specifically mentioning that movement in the ordinance, I think would be.
We'll confer with our town attorneys, but we're way ahead of you on this.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer.
Any other speakers? Mr. Rep?
My name is Robert Rip, 77 Sunset Road, Massapequa, New York. I just had a question. I know this doesn't sound ignorant. Is there like a national list of entities that are boycotting our allies, or who decides what companies are doing business with are actually boycotting our allies?
The state has a list.
The state has a list?
That's my intent, my understanding.
Thank you very much. But would there be instances where the town might decide upon themselves that a local company is violating our disagreement?
The town will be following its ordinance, but first we have to move forward on it.
Okay, thanks.
If there are no other speakers, may I ask for a motion?
Supervisor, I'll make a motion that this public hearing be closed and the decision be reserved.
Second.
Before the vote, there were some correspondences that we might consider reading into the record.
Can you tell us about the correspondence on this?
Supervisor, the public,
Yes.
the public notice was noticed, and there is no other correspondence. So therefore, if you'd like to, you can have the vote.
Okay. Can I have a motion on this?
Supervisor, I make a motion that the public hearing be closed and voted on right now.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it unanimously. We are very proud to pass this legislation.
You should be voting as a roll call vote, not as a...
So you should do that.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Thank you, Councilman.
Supervisor Saladino?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Councilman McEnroe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Alessio? Councilwoman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Nabrotto?
I proudly vote aye.
And Councilman Hare?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
Thank you. As I was saying, we are extremely proud to be passing this into law. It's very important to protect our dear friends, including Israel, Ireland, the members of NATO, and the other members that are clearly friends to our nation and to the town of Oyster Bay. And this is a great day in our town to be passing this legislation. Thank you. Next hearing?
Hearing is finance to consider the application of the Jericho Water District for bond financing for improvements to said water. We do have a speaker on that one too.
Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisor Saladino, members of the town board. My name is Mike Ingham. I'm a partner in the law firm of Carmen, Callahan and Ingham. 266 Main Street, Farmingdale, New York. And I'm here today to present the Jericho Water District's bond application. I'm proud to represent the Jericho Water District since 1986. It's been a long and great career with them, and I'm here to help them get this bond passed today. For the record, I have submitted the requisite affidavit, conflict affidavit, disclosure affidavit as part of this bond application to the district, to the town, disclosing my relationship with my partner, Rick Harmon, as required by the town's ethics code. With me here today on the bond petition are several individuals who will support and be available for questioning on the bond hearing. We have with us Chairman Abadi, who has been the chairman of the district for quite a while. We also have with us Superintendent Peter Logan, who's been a long-term superintendent of the district, and I believe his career at the district spans 30 years. We also have with us our business manager, Kathleen Cannon, and she is here to answer any questions on the financial aspect of the bond. And we also have with us from H2M, our engineer, Joe Todaro, if there are any questions concerning specifics on the bond. Commissioner Beckerly is our new commissioner. She unfortunately had a prior commitment, and she is now in Africa. Commissioner Rasmus also had a prior commitment. He cannot be here today. So before we move on directly to the issue of the bond, which is to increase the funding levels, or an authorization of a funding level for our Wheatley tank, I'd like, for the record, just to give you a brief background about the district and about the tank itself. The district was formed in 1922. The Jericho Water District provides water to approximately 20,000 services in an area of about 37 square miles. It is clearly the largest commissioner-elected district in the state of New York. It serves a population of approximately 60,000 people. We serve the incorporated villages of Brookville, Old Brookville, Laurel Hollow, and Muttontown, portions of the villages of Mettenacock and Upper Brookville, the unincorporated areas of Syosset, Jericho, East Norwich, Woodbury, and unincorporated areas of Glen Head and Greenville. The district has approximately 25 water supply wells with a total pumping capacity authorized by the New York State DEC of nearly 50 million gallons per day. The district's distribution system consists of 353 miles of water main, and the district owns and maintains approximately 3,366 fire hydrants. Directly speaking to the Wheatley Road tank. The Wheatley Road tank is located in Brookville on a site of approximately 5 acres. The Wheatley Road tank was constructed in 1924 and is a 1 million gallon riveted steel storage tank. The district experiences rapidly dropping tank levels and pressure during peak hours of long, hot, dry summer months. What this results in is that the tank, even at 1 million gallons, reduces pressure and can, on an unfortunately very dry day, be reduced to almost no tank water in the tank, so we have no pressure. So the reason we're here is to make sure that that tank is enlarged from 1 million gallons to 1.5 million gallons, a 50% increase in the size of the tank. This should provide us with adequate pressure, not only for the Brookville area, but throughout the entire distribution system in our northwest quadrant. We retained H2M as engineers through an RFP process, and they were selected as qualified engineers to work on the design of this new tank. The tank is, as I said, approximately 100 years old, and we've had estimates from the engineers that to rehabilitate the tank at this stage of the game would cost about $3.4 million. The last time it was rehabilitated was in 1982, and at that time we were not required by regulations to include lead abatement on that tank. To do so today would, as the engineer's estimate, cost about $3.4 million. That would give us some service life of another 15 years, which on tank that old makes absolutely no sense. We'd probably be throwing money away. So we're here today because the first bond issue we had in 2010 requested approximately $4.2 million for the tank. In 2013, I'm sorry, we came back and requested another $625,000 for the tank. But our engineer estimates now that the tank is going to cost $10.5, and there's two main reasons that has occurred. Over the past 10 years, there have not been a lot of new tanks erected. The housing industry has been fairly stable, and no new tanks have been created. And that has resulted in consolidation in the industry to approximately 2 or 3 main contractors who are involved with this work. So costs have gone up. But more importantly, the scope of the project has changed as well. We moved, and lucky to have 5 acres to work with, we moved the tank to the middle of the 5 acres to be less intrusive on our neighbors. To do that, we had to relocate the water main, electrical cables, and we've also changed the scope to add new electrical panels, electrical motor controls, and to include bulk storage for this tank. So that has increased the size of the scope of the project and the costs. So we're conservative in our estimate. This is a not to exceed amount. It does not have to get there, but we want to be safe and conservative because we need the money on hand if we need to expend those funds. We have to have funds on hand before we can bid the project. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them from the board or any members of the public.
My first question is for the clarity of the public. Total amount you're borrowing, you're asking for today?
$10,500,000.
10 million, 10.5.
Right, and our analysis by our business manager, Ms. Cannon, has indicated that over the life of the bond, that will cost the average homeowner in Jericho Water District $20 a year, or slightly over a nickel a day.
$20 a year. And for the clarity for the public, people are wondering why you're coming before the town of Oyster Bay to do this bonding as opposed to doing it through Jericho itself.
Jericho, that's a relatively straightforward question. Jericho does not have the power to issue bonds. The power to issue bonds for all water districts throughout the state was abolished in 1932. In 1933, the residents of Jericho Water District voted to continue them on as an independent commission-elected district, but the power to issue the bonds comes through the town. The town pledges its full faith and credit, but it is the taxpayers of the district who really pay the bonds, and it is their full faith and credit to be able to pay those bonds, which is really an issue. And I can assure you that the district will be able to do so. We're kind of lucky at Jericho because in 2010, that was the first time we've ever taken out a bond issue since perhaps the establishment of the district. We've been fortunate enough to have good guidance, especially by past chairman Nicholas Bartolucci, and we've also been lucky to have pure water. So we have to do some treatment now, but we really haven't had the bond like other water districts have had to do so.
And this is their first bond in how long?
Well, the bond in 2010, we debated that. As long as Mr. Bartolucci was on the board from 1967, there was no bond indebtedness then. So we believe the bond indebtedness really was only the beginning of the district, perhaps back in the 1920s, maybe in the 30s. Those bonds were already paid off, and there's no bond indebtedness to the district.
Okay, and the purpose of these expenditures are to protect the public drinking water supply and to make sure that there is a volume suitable for the need of the community?
Absolutely, because when we do run into significant water demand in the hot summer months, we believe this additional 500,000 in storage will keep pressure adequate enough to service not only Brookfield but the entire surrounding communities.
And you'll be changing the capacity from 1 million gallons to 1.5 million gallons, upping it by 50%.
Yes, Supervisor.
And has the district looked at to ensure that this will be sufficient for many years to come?
We have.
Okay, one last question, just for the clarity of the public. The taxpayers of the town of Oyster Bay on their tax bill will not be paying for this. Only those who utilize the Jericho Water District on their portion of their tax.
Absolutely correct. They pay that tax, they pay that bond through their taxes.
Separate from the town of Oyster Bay
And
residents.
that money, our bonded indebtedness payments, is withdrawn from the taxes that should remit to us on our tax bill.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Ingham, just to clarify, it's a state law that requires you to borrow this money through us rather
Yes.
than on your own.
Yes, we can't borrow on our own, right?
Just a quick comment in regards to the extra 500,000 gallons. That's very important to fire services to maintain that.
Absolutely. Fire service requires a minimum of 25 pounds per square inch of pressure. And if the tank had gone to empty, we'd be hard pressed against that. Now, that distribution system wouldn't support from other tanks, but it's much safer to have that extra capacity to keep the tank safe and to keep the pressure adequate.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? We have questions from the public. Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name and address?
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor and council members. Laura Schultz, 22 Barber Drive, Syosset. I am president of Residents for More Beautiful Syosset. I was not going to speak on this issue, but in listening to the great presentation, a question came right up to my mind. I assume you are projecting out for future needs by building this tank.
Right.
Okay. Does this projection...
You could just address your questions this way.
Thank you, Larry. Projecting out, if we're looking out, does this projection include development on the Zero Wire site?
The Zero Wire site is a work in progress, as the town knows. This well will not directly impact the Zero Wire site. It's in a different section of the district. The district, in reviewing the Zero Wire site, commissioned a water feasibility study through our engineers at a cost of $89,000, which was paid for by Zero Wire. That water study was just completed. It is part of the DEIS, and it looks like, from our preliminary analysis, that we will need to put in a new tank, an elevated water storage tank, and a well to supply the Zero Wire development. And it is the intention of the district to negotiate directly with Zero Wire or the Simon Properties to have them pay their share of that tank and that well before any water is delivered to the Zero Wire site.
But this specific tank would not impact that site. It doesn't service.
Tangentially, it services a different area of the district. We've got 25 wells, so we have wells all throughout the district because it's 37 square miles. We have to, but the Zero Wire area is removed from Brookville and the specific tank area. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Good morning. Bob Fryer, 33 Chestnut Lane, Woodbury. Just a question. The gentleman mentioned approximately $10 a year per home in the water district that gets served by the Jericho Water District. I'm assuming he's did some calculation based on a particular interest rate that they were going to be borrowing on. I'm just curious what that interest rate would be.
Thank you.
It's blended. The first 5 years will be under bond anticipation notes or bands. Those currently at 2.5%. This is still an outstanding time to borrow long range. That's blended with a projection of 4.5%, which may be in existence, I think, in a few years from now. It could well be 4.5% of municipal bonds. That blended rate is 4%. That gives us $20 per year. The average homeowner was assessed at $500,000.
I signed a form. I signed up for a form.
Yes, gentleman in the back, please.
Market Street, Farmingdale, New York. I don't live in the area that is being serviced, but I do represent a lot of painters that do live in those areas. So, being that the bond is for prevailing wage, probably a prevailing wage project, all I have to do is just make an introduction and hope that they use local labor for the project, if they do get funded for it. That's it.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Joe.
Yes.
A previous council person is now Commissioner of Parks, wanted to bring up something, maybe we should readdress it, that anybody bonding through us should follow the prevailing wage, has to follow prevailing wage laws, but also our apprentice requirement that the town of Oyster Bay has been very progressive with it. Maybe we should address that with this project and other projects.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Rep.
Hello, my name is Robert Ripp. I reside at 77 Sunset Road, Massapequa, New York. I have some information I'd like to share, and I just want to be clear, please don't misinterpret. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, and I have documentation with me to substantiate everything I'm going to tell you. And I think it's very important. I believe that before you vote on anything today, I think the town should seek an advisory opinion from the Ethics Board regarding all business between water districts in the town of Oyster Bay. And the reason I'm bringing it up is Mr. Ingham had mentioned that he submitted an affidavit because of his relationship with Mr. Carmen. That's great, but that's what the Ethics Board's there for, to take a look at that. And what I've determined, what I've discovered is that the firm of Carmen, Callahan, and Ingham represent a number of water districts. I don't know if they represent all of them, but I know they represent Massapequa, Bethpage, I think Plainview, Jericho. I know that in Massapequa, the firm receives a $36,000 retainer through a no-bid system every year. In Massapequa, I don't know how they do it, but they do no-bid contracts for everyone.
This is Jericho, right? I think we're talking about Jericho.
Yes, I know, and I'm going to get to Jericho, yes, I'm sorry. Actually, in Massapequa, Mr. Han was a member of the commission there who's been voting for Mr. Callahan.
We're talking about Jericho.
Yes, I know, and I'm going to address Jericho.
What we're asking is that you please stay very germane to the subject at hand.
Yes, okay. So my point is that I think before the town gets involved, does any more business or bonds with water districts, and I know you don't want to hear this, but Mr. Ham was responsible for approving Mr. Pinto's consulting contract for over a decade, no bid every year. I don't know if
Mr. We're asking you not to editorialize and stay strictly to the rules of decorum at this meeting.
I'm trying to. Just give me a second, because you kind of threw my train of thought by interrupting me.
Okay. Well, let's stay germane to the hearing and to the subject, and I'm sure that won't happen.
So what I've done is I provide a request for an advisory opinion from the Ethics Board. I would actually hope that I wouldn't have to turn it in and someone from the board might request it.
Asked and answered, Mr. Ripp. Was Mr. Leventhal? That was requested of Mr. Leventhal already before today's meeting. And it was answered, thank you.
Was there like a secret meeting of the Ethics Board that Mr. Leventhal made a determination without meeting with the board?
No, I actually reached out, in reading the notes, I reached out to Mr. Sabelico, and I asked him if there's a legal opinion on this, and he said it should go to the Ethics Board, and he would reach out to Mr. Leventhal, and he affirmed that Mr. Leventhal said there was no conflict from what I understand.
So Mr. Leventhal made that decision without conferring with the Ethics Board? Is that what you're saying? I mean, why do we have an Ethics Board then, if Mr. Leventhal's running everything? I'm in a shock.
Mr. Ripp, we'll ask you again to please stay germane to the subject at hand.
Okay, I don't believe that you should be going forward because there could be a conflict of interest. I actually have a lawsuit where the Jericho Water District was sued because Sidney Baum, who they get all the non-bid contracts from all the water districts also as engineering consultants, they had a sub-consultant that got hurt at the Jericho Water District. Now, if something would have happened like that now with the town of Oyster Bay employee or a resident, there would be a conflict of interest because the firm that Mr. Carmen is a partner in is the firm that's representing the water district. These are the issues that I see. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm saying that you should have the ethics board make a determination. So in light of what Mr. Hand just said, I'm going to submit my request for a advisory opinion, because that's why we have the ethics board, right? To advise us how to proceed so that we don't have problems in the future. If you don't mind, I'd like to turn that in. And thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take that over. Are there any other speakers on this issue? Yes, please step forward.
Good morning again, Kevin McKenna, 3 Edna Drive, Syosset. Real quick, since there is should be a request into the ethics board, and the ethics board consists of the 5 members. Mr. Leventhal is merely, and I've heard him say this in an ethics board meeting, Mr. Leventhal is merely someone to help them and guide them through their processes. So it was just today, I noticed a new ethics board meeting was just published today, I forget the date, it's at the end of June. And I would be very, very surprised if the board would be able to even look at this soon, because I have ethics board requests in that are from months ago that still haven't been heard. So you have to get it moved ahead of all the others. But the point I wanted to make is that Patricia Beckley, who it's my understanding works for the town of Oyster Bay.
She's a deputy commissioner.
She was recently approved with the Jericho Water District. I would also ask the board to check to see if she has filed a disclosure statement, so on and so forth. And that also needs to be reviewed by the town attorney's office and Mr. Sabelico. It needs to be reviewed by the ethics board. And again, I reiterate what the prior resident said. I would ask that you postpone this vote until after the ethics board hears these matters.
Mr. Supervisor, I think there's some validity to this. I'd like to get a ruling from the ethics board, so would like to request we postpone this decision on this vote until we do get a ruling on this.
Let's start off by asking our town attorney to come forward before people jump to conclusions. Thank you very much. Certainly take that under advisement. Let's get some of these questions answered for the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask for our town attorney to step up, please.
It's Supervisor and members of the town board, it's a relatively straightforward question because there is no interest for there to be a conflict. In other words, if the law firm were being retained by the town of Oyster Bay, then there could be a conflict of interest between Mr. Engelman's law firm and the town of Oyster Bay because the persons who are already working for the town of Oyster Bay. In this case, they are representing the water district. The only thing we're doing is approving the financing that helps the water district. It's not directly helping the law firm. There is no interest of anybody on the town board or in town government for there to be a conflict of interest. It's that simple.
I'm sorry, Supervisor. Is there any reason that we couldn't delay a vote and ask for an opinion from the Board of Ethics?
It's within your discretion, but there doesn't seem to be at least the predicate that even arises to the level where they would find that there could be a conflict because there is no interest.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I just think that we're living in a time where even the appearance sometimes is more significant than the underlying. I would agree with Councilman McEnroe's statement that maybe we should.
Again, it's within your discretion.
And is this an issue for the Jericho Water Board to be dealing with as opposed to the town that's just dealing with the assistance following state law so that they can get their financing?
That's correct. It is for the Jericho Water District to do so. And they do need the financing in order to make this project go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Marcel?
Yes, sir.
I'm not questioning your opinion. I know you're a gifted attorney. This is a layman. I just think it passes the sniff test better if we go to the ethics board, because the question has been raised by residents and presented to us, and I'd feel better if we went to the ethics board personally before I voted on it.
And I understand your position, Councilman. I do.
Thank you.
Supervisor, I heard 7 people get up here.
Could you start off, please, by giving us your name for the purposes of the
Larry
record?
Sklar,
And
post office
address.
box 20, Jericho, New York, and I hurt my back getting out of it every day. Anyway, I'm the 7th person to get up here to speak about the Jericho Water District. And I'd like to suggest you do anything you can do to help them, because I lived 28 years, I'm the only one that got up here that lives in Jericho.
I live in that district.
You don't live in Jericho.
I live in Syosset, I certainly am covered under that.
You getting some water?
Mr. Sklar.
Which water you getting?
Mr. Sklar. Mr. Sklar.
I find it to be the best water I ever drank. I have no problem drinking it. The only thing I suggest that the board does do, they add codicil to that. That they give us a bottle of scotch once a year. Goes great with the Jericho water. Thank you for eating anything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Please, Mr. Eagle.
For the record, Commissioner Asmus has appeared to support the petition. I believe the board can certainly consider getting a formal ethics opinion. But I would like to state for the record that I've represented Jericho Water District since 1986. I now represent Massapequa Water District, Bethpage Water District, and Plainview Water District. I also represent the Great Neck Sewer District in the town of North Hempstead, Port Washington Sewer District in town of North Hempstead. I've been up counsel or done litigation work for Roslyn Water District, for Albertson Water District, and for Clark Place Water District. I'm currently the pro bono legal counsel, general counsel for Long Island Water Conference. In the past, I've represented the town of Babylon Highway Department, the town of Islip Highway Department, and the town of Hempstead Highway Department on major construction damage litigation arising out of the sewer installations.
No one's
So,
questioning.
and for the record,
No one's question, for the record, no one's questioning your resume. We just know that one of your partners is now deputy supervisor for the town of Oyster Bay, and you mentioned 4 districts in the town of Oyster Bay that you represent, and if they come before us, we get a positive ruling from the Board of Ethics, then this discussion will be mute in the future.
And I
would
appreciate
like
that. I think that would be appropriate in this situation and in this climate. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much. Any other questions?
Mr. Ingham, will the Jericho Water District be negatively impacted in any way by waiting for this opinion?
We'd like to bid the tank, we're ready to go. So,
But will it affect your ability to bid it? Will it affect your ability to bond? Will it affect the rate that you would borrow money at?
we can't let the contract without the bond being approved.
But will the momentary delay?
Will it affect your bond? Will it affect anything in your process?
Not in my estimation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you Supervisor. Town Council, thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that we have the ethics board meet as soon as possible on this, so we can vote on it on the 20th.
Second.
First of all, there is no current resolution to vote on it. So what I would like to do is close the meeting and reserve a decision. That's the proper manner.
So that we
If the
can-
ethics board says that it's not permissible or not ethical, whatever.
I did have mentioned anything about closing the meeting, Councilman, I want just to make sure you have the board meets on it, so we can vote as soon as possible, so we don't affect the residents.
That doesn't have to be done as a motion, that should be done by asking our town attorney to call for a meeting of the ethics board as quickly as possible, so they may render a decision on the question,
Yes.
on this question. Whether it is moot or not, we're still going to go forward with belt and suspenders so that we can put to rest any of the questions, claims, or otherwise statements of the public, so that we can ensure the public that we are operating with 100% ethical behavior.
Yes, it's good. The ethics board and request their expeditious resolution of the issue.
Right, and then to publicly report to us their findings so that we may get this issue resolved in a very quick manner, expedited,
Yeah.
so that we can get this done. Again, the town is only allowing the Jericho Water District to bond as per state law. We're following the state law and the state mandated procedures that must be followed. That's the town's only role in this. We're not deciding who gets contracts, we're not deciding who represents them, we're making no decisions. Those are all taken care of legally by the Jericho Water District. We're just upholding our duties as per state mandated law, and that's what we'll do. So if I may have a motion, please.
I'd like to have some correspondence, maybe?
Oh, yes?
We have affidavits of postings and publications. There is no other correspondence.
Supervisor, I make a motion that this public hearing be closed and the decision be reserved.
Second.
Please take the vote.
Supervisor Saladino?
Aye?
Councilman Mazzarella?
Aye.
Councilman McEnon?
Aye.
Councilwoman Alessia?
Aye.
Councilwoman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Abreu?
Aye.
And Councilman Ham. Motion carries.
Thank you. Please call the next hearing.
Hearing P-317. Consider the application of Taco Bell of America LLC for a special use permit and site plan approval to construct and operate a restaurant to be utilized for the new Taco Bell restaurant on premise located at 424 Jericho Turnpike, Syosset, New York.